Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today is a very special guest. He is, of course, a former WCW superstar, a former TNA superstar. You may have known him as Kwee Wee or the Miss TNA winner as Bruce. He is, of course, Mr. Allan Funk. Allan, welcome to the two-man power trip.
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me on, John. Everybody always forgets I was with WWE for a while too, but I never done anything with them. So, I like to say, I had a contract with the big guys. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah. What did you do? Was it HWA? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, a lot of us went to HWA. Me, Mike Sanders, Elix Skipper, Kid Romeo. I know I'm missing some. Johnny the Bull. We were up there with, of course, ECMO and Chemo, which was the what is that? What do they call themselves? 3 minute warning.
3 minute warning. I think they were the Island Boys at that point.
Yeah. They were great guys, no longer with us. Then we were down there at Lance Cade, another guy that passed away. He was with Trevor Murdoch, I believe. They were tag teaming in WWE at the time. But a lot of good guys down there, man. We had Steve Bradley. I don't know if you remember that name.
Oh, yeah. Legendary guy up here in the Northeast.
Oh,
yeah.
Steve Bradley was a great dude, man. He was a good worker, too. I hadn't heard nothing about that guy since I was down there. But, we always work with good guys down there. Eddie Guerrero was down there, man, put me over like $1 million all the time. Got to work with him. Steve Regal, Dave Taylor, two awesome guys, dude, that can, if you can't learn from those two guys and Eddie Guerrero, and you don't have any business being in the wrestling business. Then we had guys like Steve Blackman, which was a great dude, man. Funniest dude, man. Mark Henry was down there, real nice guy. Several guys from WWE come down there, for weekends or, a week or two and help with the talent and stuff. So we had a good crew down there, man. We had a blast. Tried to have a blast considering we were all away from our wives and families. And, it was kind of like take two of the power plant, kind of just not as bad.
Yes, I got you. So before we get kind of back into WCW and stuff, and even go back to WWE for some HWA stuff, what are you up to? I know you just started, not that long ago, brand new couple of podcasts.
Yeah. So I started a podcast with Piers Austin in Australia. It's the MWA Multi-Continental Wrestling Alliance, MWA Podcast Network. He'd been doing one for, I believe, about a year or so. He had me as a guest, and then him and Angel became friends. Angel Medina, which was a ECW original in the Baldies. So they liked the interview that I did. They thought I had good charisma, and I guess the gift of gab. I think I'm getting better at it. But when I first started, it looked pretty brutal to me. But now the shows are starting to come together a little bit, and I'm having fun doing it. It's kind of to be honest with you, John, it's and you probably know this. It's a pain in the ass to get wrestlers to respond to you, even guys you're friends with. So, in my shoes, I know a lot of good guys I've had on my podcast. Chuck Palumbo. I mean, I had most of the guys, Mark Jindrak, guys I went to the power plant with. Those guys weren't so bad getting, but, some of these other guys like, I tried to get a hold of Goldberg. He hasn't got back with me yet. So, Chuck Palumbo actually gave me his number. I had his old number. I guess that wasn't working. So, I won't tell him where I got that. Hopefully he's not listening to this and figure out where I got it. But so I'm trying to get Goldberg. I got some good guests I'm trying to get on there. But, dude, in the wrestling business, man, it's so hard to get some of these guys to return any phone calls or anything.
It is crazy. Yeah, sometimes you're just like, come on, man, get back to me. Or they message you and then they don't get back to you after that. Yeah, it can be a pain in the ass out there.
But, I look up to guys like you, John, that do these podcasts, and you weren't in the wrestling business like myself or that I know of, I was around a lot of these guys all the time, and it's hard to get them. So, you guys get these guests, man, and man, my hat's off to you. You guys getting, and I've seen some good podcasts with guys I didn't know, and they've had some pretty good podcasts with guys that, I can't believe they actually get.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world out there. So with your podcast, I know you're doing obviously some interviews, different stuff like that, but you're also doing one with Angel, right? The Funkin' Kingpin?
Yeah, the Funkin' Kingpin show. I guess that was the name I came up with, and we couldn't really think of anything else, so we went with that name. But Angel's a good guy, man. He shoots on a lot of people. He's got that attitude where it's not that he don't give a crap, but he kind of don't give a crap. And I'm getting that way more and more that I've gotten out of the business. Only because, some guys used to treat me like crap back in the day. And, I'm getting back at them now. And, and if they want to, shoot on me later, we can work it out. But, till that happens, I'll just keep shooting on them.
I love it. So did you know him beforehand or no?
No, I met him through Piers, and I guess they're partners in that MWA podcast now. And so they contacted me one day and said, hey, you want to do, we got an idea. We want you to do a podcast. And we came up with the name Get Funked. And now we're all our shows, Piers, myself, Angel, and then you got the Dead Presidents, which are, I guess, independent legends. They do a podcast. So the Dead Presidents called the Knights of the Gimmick Table. Mine's called Get Funked. Angels is called Killing the Business, and Piers is Shooting the Shit. And we got some real good guys. We got some guys that put our micro content together that do it now. None of us are making money. We basically just have our time into this, and hopefully it'll come around. We got on Vince Russo's network, the Realm Network, and all our shows are on there every week. So hopefully good things will come from that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. So you're enjoying doing podcasting?
Well, like I said, it's fun, but it's a pain in the ass sometimes because, you got a podcast coming up and you're waiting on to get back, confirmation from somebody, somebody give me something, and then at the last minute, it always seems to work out. So I'm one of those guys that don't really fret too much on it because, I could always, I got a couple buddies on standby. They say they don't really want to do it, but they'll do it for me if I don't have anybody. So it's kind of nice to have that, that buffer hanging over there that I can give them a call,
Yeah, absolutely. You're not a real Ohio State Buckeyes fan, are you?
Oh, dude. I'm born and raised in Ohio, though. It's the only thing
I thought you were a Georgia boy for some reason.
Well, I've been in Georgia for 22 years. This October will be 22 years down here. Or is it 23? Hell, I can't remember. I come down here in October of 98. So yeah, it's been a minute, but I tell you why I can't like any Georgia sports, and I've tried. I can't even root for them because I got mutual friends that I got my best friends are Georgia fans, but I love to see them lose anyway.
Yep.
But the only reason is, John, these Georgia fans, I don't know if you have any experience with these guys. They are so freaking obnoxious. We got even a joke with some guy in the gym that's a Georgia fan. They're preseason national champs since 1980, and their fans will argue with you and they have no argument whatsoever, and they look like morons when they're arguing their case. And I just sit back and go, do you realize and I never talk shit unless you start talking shit to me. Then I'm a good shit talker. You want to talk shit to me? I'll start the shit. So at least, and I always tell these young kids to start shit with me. I'm like, name me one person on the 1980 national championship team that Georgia had, minus Herschel Walker. If you can name one, I'll be impressed because none of them, 10 out of 10, can't answer. Or 100 out of 100. I haven't got no answer other than Herschel Walker to anybody. So, and I'm not even a Georgia fan. I've never claimed to know that team, but, I've done my research and I can probably name a couple. And the only reason I have names on standby just so I can argue with those kids that don't know what they're talking about.
Good point. Yeah, I was going to say I only know Herschel Walker. Yeah, I couldn't even name it. But
you know what? Most of the country couldn't name anybody but Herschel Walker.
Goldberg went to Georgia. Your buddy. He was probably always a Bulldog fan.
Oh yeah, he still is. I talked about this. I can't remember with somebody else with my podcast. Like when I was in the wrestling in WCW coming up, I guess I really wasn't myself sometimes. Because I was always so worried about getting fired. I always wanted to keep my job. Paul Orndorf's always on your ass. So a lot of times, I mingle with guys and I got along with people, but there's a part of me that wasn't really out because I didn't really talk about football and stuff a lot when I was coming up in wrestling because I was always worried about everything. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but and not that I wasn't confident in my ability. But, when you got Paul Orndorf telling you every day, you don't have a good match on TV, this and that, they give me the Kwee Wee character. They say we get one queer chant, you're off television. So everything I work for could have been, 1 second taken away from me. So I always had stuff on my mind where I think a lot of times I really wasn't myself, around the shows a lot because I always had stuff on my mind, and my mom and dad were going through cancer and stuff. And, I had a lot of stuff in my mind back then. And, I guess I wasn't myself a lot of times.
with that Orndorf being up your ass, and you said like the pressure and stuff. Why is that though? Like just the political beast of WCW, is that wrestling in general?
Well, you know, in a strange way, I think Paul wanted the best for some of us down there at the power plant. I got along with Paul really well compared to some of the guys. Paul always told me I reminded him of him, and I was real aggressive and stuff, and he liked that. So, you know, I always seemed like me and Chuck Palumbo probably had a better relationship than Paul with Paul than a lot of the guys did. You know, Mike Sanders, he fired Mike Sanders, so Mike Sanders really didn't like him. And, you know, a lot of these young guys like Sonny Siaki and John Huger were young. So, you know, and I grew up and, you know, my dad was military. So I grew up with that, you know, run it down your throat. You do this, do that, you know, get your teeth knocked down your throat. That was just, you know, part of how I grew up. So it didn't bother me like it did the other guys.
With Paul Orndorf, obviously, he passed not that long ago. Huge legend in the business, but like you said, known for being a very hard ass, very tough trainer, no nonsense kind of guy, very aggressive, very intense. Was it hard, you know, like being in his training camps and training under him? Was it like a very hard task compared to somebody else?
No. To me, you know, that's what I wanted. You know, I stood out down there at the power plant, and I'm not just saying that because I'm on your show. Or you could ask anybody in that power plant that was training with me at the time. Ask Sarge. You know, if Paul Orndorf's still around, he'd tell you. Anytime they needed something done there, like if new guys come in and they wanted them run through the ringer, man, like me, Elix Skipper, you know, as far as cardio and in shape, and, you know, there wasn't two better guys in there other than Hardbody Harrison. And the reason I don't bring up Hardbody a lot, because his mouth got him a lot of trouble. He was a great worker. I don't know if you remember that name, Hardbody Harrison.
Yep.
He was on those Tough Man on the FX show. But he was a great talent, man. He just needed to keep his mouth. If he could ever learn to keep his mouth shut, he was a great talent. Just a shame that he just had the attitude he had. But yeah, I mean, down at the power plant, I wouldn't have had it any other way, dude. You know, nobody could tell me I screwed this girl, or I did this, or I blew this guy, or, you know, I did that for my job, because that was the farthest from the truth, man. I come from a small town, Alliance, Ohio. The chances of me making it on TV were, you know, slim and even slimmer. And, you know, my hard work, you know, like, you know, the Macho Man used to say, good buddy of mine, cream rises to the top. You know, in the power plant, you know, the cream rose to the top, and the guys that, you know, did good down there, they got a shot on TV.
What was it like at the power plant? Because you hear horror stories of it. It just seems like, man, that was one tough environment. If you can get through it, man, you made it.
Well, you know, the 3-day tryouts now, you know, I could tell the story a million times. Brutal. You could go on YouTube. I was watching some tonight because I'm putting together a video for my my podcast. The 3-day tryouts, man, you pay $250 to go to these tryouts to get your ass kicked. And I mean, not just get your ass kicked. I mean, I'm talking after 3 days, you couldn't even walk. I could barely walk in the airplane to get through the airport to get back on a plane to go to Ohio. Like, it was that brutal. I mean, first day, you go back to the hotel, you're cramping up so bad you can't even go to the restaurant. You can barely get back in your hotel room. And then, you know, like I always tell people this story. For me, I just roll out of bed at the hotel. I stayed at a hotel for 3 days down the road from the old power plant. And I literally rolled out of bed, could hardly walk. I'd crawl to the bathroom. I'd pull myself up with a towel. I had a towel I tied to the doorknob. I literally had to grab the towel and pull myself down just to sit on the toilet. And then I had to pull it back, you know, grab it and pull myself back up because I couldn't even move. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how in the hell I'm going to go through 2 more days of this. Like, once you get in there and you hear these guys going, get on your bucket, fucking squat and you know, and you hear Sergeant, you hear Pez Wally, and, you know, all these guys yelling at you, you just lights a fire up under it, and you just, for some reason, you don't feel the pain till you're done again.
Man, that's crazy that they do that, and you have to pay them to try out.
Yeah, you got to pay them. And, you know, I mean, I literally seen grown men shit their pants. I seen grown men piss their pants. I seen guys crying, trying to crawl to the door, and they kept grabbing them by the feet and pulling them back in. And that's the reality of it. And people that don't believe that, you know, you asked any guys that went through that, didn't make it, you know, most of the guys didn't make it more than an hour or 2, let alone 3 days. So, I mean, you got these guys that were in good shape. They worked out. There was a guy down there that reminded me. He kind of looked like Goldberg a little bit just because he had a bald head and he had a goatee, and he was talking shit before the show started. But we didn't know that until we watched it was on the news, like, you know, a couple weeks later after he was in there. But before that, the news ladies talking to him, and this happened every tryout. These guys like, you know, this ain't going to be shit. I'll make it. You know, I sit at home, watch this. It ain't going to be no problem. This is all I ever wanted to do. There's no one denying me. 5 minutes, these dudes are crying, like literally crying, you know, but when you see the videos afterwards, and I don't know if you ever saw this video where Eric Bischoff was looking at this video where this kid, he had long hair and he went to one of the shows. And he was signing autographs and shit. And the lady showed Eric Bischoff this tape. And he's like, this fucking guy, you know, what a clown. Like and Bischoff, like, I could tell you right now, he didn't make it. And they were like, yeah, he didn't make it.
Yep.
So, but, you know, that the mentality going in there, of course, you want to make it. But the brutality of it, you can't even imagine until you went through it.
Man, it's crazy. It's almost like they don't want you to make it. Like they're treating you guys like, not, I wouldn't say terrible, but, you know, close to terrible.
Oh no, it was terrible. You can say terrible. You know, they wanted you to quit. They wanted to see if your body shut down physically, what you were capable of mentally and in your heart. And that's something I showed them. I mean, I couldn't fucking walk, but I'm still fighting guys. I had my nose broke. My nose is pouring out blood. Guys jumping. I remember Prince IK was down there. He jumped on me, and he's a hell of a like collegiate wrestler. He started wrestling me. He was tying me up and all kinds of different pretzels. Guys jumping on me, kicking me. You know, guys just giving you forearms to the head, the back, and you're just trying to fight all these guys off. And me, I'm the type of guy where, you know, you hit me in the nose and break it, I'm gonna go, that's it? That's all you got? While I'm sitting here talking to myself going, damn, shut the hell up. Like, just shut up. And I did that the whole 3 days in there. And these guys just, you know, even Pez Wally was like, man, this guy just don't want to fucking quit. And, you know, we'd go outside. We don't have a shirt on. I did my tryout in July in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's like, you know, 9,900 degrees with the humidity. Yep. And we're out in the blacktop doing sit-ups and push-ups with no shirts on, with shorts on. You know, our hands are burning. They're making us like lay down in this blacktop, do sit-ups. And then they say, you got to grab this guy. He got to jump on your back. You got to run up to the door and then back. So we're in the parking lot running with guys on our back. So dumbass me, there was a guy down there. His name was Brett Hamner. He was over 300 pounds. All these guys like, yeah, you know, I'll take this guy 160 pounds, 180 pounds. I said, no, I want that big guy. And Pistol Pez loved that shit. He'd be like, that's what I'm talking about. This guy here picks the biggest guy in the damn place. And he gets on my back, and I run up and down the parking lot with him, and I'm sitting there talking to myself the whole time going, God, you're an idiot. Shut the fuck up, you know? And I remember one time Sarge said the first guy that gets in the building gets a drink of water. And we're outside killing ourselves, and it's, you know, damn near 100 degrees outside in Atlanta in July. So I remember I get in the door. I grab the water out of the water cooler, the 5-gallon water thing upside down. I fill it up with water. I go to take it, and bam, they slap it right out of my hand. I couldn't even get a drink. I was like, man. Son, you know, that it was that close, you know, and that's just how they treat you down there. They probably wouldn't be able to do that nowadays, but I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, there's no way they could do something like that now. Oh my God, forget about it. Lawsuit and everything else, yeah, they'd be in trouble. But that's just crazy, kind of what you have to go through just to get into the power plant to possibly make it to WCW. I mean, wow, I mean, that's nuts.
Well, see, after the 3-day tryout, though, if you do make it, and most of the guys, I mean, there was probably at least every tryout 30 guys, 25, 30, if not more. So sometimes there was 50. In mine, I think there was about 30. You know, you make it through the 3-day tryout, they tell you, yeah, it's $3,000 for you to come back. We'll take you for 6 months. So they had a 6-month tryout, and you had to pay $3,000. But luckily, this is the only good timing I've ever had in the wrestling business. So I get down there in July, I do my tryout. I moved down there in October with my fiance at the time. So we moved to Smyrna, Georgia. I started training at the power plant. Well, I'm taking bookings and then with some indie shows. So I'm doing Music City. I think it was Music City with Burt
Prentice,
Bill Barons, and I think Burt Prentice had something to do with it too. So, you know, I got booked on a lot of Bill Barron stuff, which is like AJ Styles. Like, I don't know if he's his agent or he was kind of like his, his mentor growing up.
Yeah, he was his agent.
So, yeah, Bill, he always treated me good and always had me on shows. And, you know, I actually got paid and stuff. And so, I started doing stuff with Bill. And then about that time, I remember he booked me for the Nashville. That's when they had the, I don't want to say the Backstreet Boys, but they had the Shannon Moore and them guys. They were doing like a Backstreet Boys type gimmick up there.
3 count. Yep.
But it wasn't 3 count. It was a 4-3 count.
Okay.
But I can't remember. Their name was something like the Backstreet Boys or something like that. And so I remember I was going to go up there and work with these guys and stuff. And I was pretty excited about it because I knew who they were. And so that I remember that day I got booked. I was actually my ex. We hadn't. Yeah, we did get married. I don't even remember if we were married. But we were going to drive up to Nashville that day. Well, I got a call from Paul Orndorf. Said, "Hey man, you need to come down to the power plant. We got to talk about some stuff." And I had a feeling they were going to offer some contracts. So and he kind of smarted me up a little bit too. That it was probably coming, but a lot of us didn't really know. So I remember, so my wife's in the car. I go down to the power plant. I just tell her to, hang out and I'll be back. So I go in there and they offer me my contract that day. So then I told them, I said, well, I got a booking tonight in Nashville. And they're like, yeah, you can't go. So I had to call up Bill Behrens and tell him I couldn't make it. But, I really wasn't upset since I got my contract with WCW. So that was a good way to cancel an indie show,
Oh yeah, definitely. With like all that going on, when you do get the contract, when you do sign, you don't have to pay to train then, do you? I mean, you're technically signed.
No. And actually, that's what I always get sidetracked. I'm glad you're here, John. Help me out. But yeah, I told you that was probably the best timing I've ever had in the wrestling business. So I never had to pay anything because they offered me a contract. So I was only there a couple of weeks and I never had to pay anything. So, that was definitely luck for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you first get the contract, are you elated? Are you loving life? You're signed by WCW, the second biggest at that point, the second biggest company in wrestling.
Oh yeah, dude, come on, man. I'm from a small town, Alliance, Ohio, man. Most people never even heard of this town. So me moving down to Georgia, that was my whole goal, man. And when I remember telling, I went out in the car. And I think I was crying. I was telling my ex-wife, and. Because, I mean, even though the money wasn't a lot of money, man, it's a contract for, one of the 2 biggest wrestling companies in the United States. You know what I mean? So, I mean, hell, even if it was for, 50 cents a week, I'd have been happy.
Yeah. So when did they finally give you a gimmick and when do you become Kwee Wee? Because you're Allan Funk at first, right?
Yeah. So, we start doing the Saturday night stuff. Well, actually, we didn't even start doing the Saturday night stuff yet. Kid Romeo, which he was real big on, and I had him on my show. I think we talked about this a little bit. He worked at a strip club. He was all about the nightlife. Kid Romeo was Sam Roman. And so he always had like pain pills and we called them gimmicks in the wrestling business. So he'd give like Arn Anderson and, some of these guys, some gimmicks with the shows. So all these guys, he became friends with all the bookers and stuff. Cause he's the guy to go to, Yep. So he gets Kevin Nash to have a look at him, and he was the booker at the time. I think Kevin Sullivan might have been a booker at the time too. So Kid Romeo comes with me because me and him worked together all the time. We were doing indie shows, and we were actually doing shows. Hardbody Harrison used to run shows. They'd let us do those, and then we were doing a show at a bar in Atlanta. It was in Sandy Springs called Good Old Days. It became really popular in the Atlanta area for like all the power plant guys go there, and it drew a lot of like Raven, Billy Kidman, Canyon, Glacier. A lot of these guys would come up and watch us every Friday night. So it was kind of cool for us because, we got to wrestle in front of a hot crowd at a bar that was kind of outside, and it was a great venue. And then we also had all these WCW guys that were on TV coming to check us out. So, it was our kind of chance to, get a little exposure with even some of the guys on the main roster. So we started doing that, and then Kid Romeo came to me one day and said, hey, and he always liked working with me. I always worked with Kid Romeo very well, and we had great matches, never had a bad match. So he's like, hey, man, I want to get booked on a Saturday night show, and I want to work you. I said, fuck yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. So he was basically my in for the first Saturday night stuff. So and on the Saturday night show, they tape them every other Wednesday, whatever town they were close to for the Nitros and Thunders. And so I remember we flew to Roanoke, Virginia was our first TV shot. And he went over the first match. They used to tape, if you wrestled twice on the Wednesday night show for the Saturday night, you'd get to wrestle on the 2 Saturday nights in a row. Otherwise, you just be on one of the shows because they only recorded every other week. So he actually got us 2 matches, which I was happy for because we were going to be on, TV for the next 2 weeks. So he went over one, I went over one, and then we started a little feud, me and Kid Romeo, with the Saturday night stuff.
And you were facing Barry Horowitz a lot too, right?
Yeah, you know what? That was great. They wanted, you know, they started seeing, you know, the talent that we had out of the power play, and they liked what I was doing. So they put me in a little program with Barry Horowitz. We did a little pre-tape before I wrestled him, and I seen him in the hallway. And you know, as a young kid coming up, you know, I was cocky, and you know, I always took pride in how I looked and stuff. So I was always built good. So that's kind of how they gave me this deal. And they wanted me to walk up to Barry and say, "Hey, Mr. Horowitz," or, you know, Barry, whatever. "Hey, good to meet you," you know. And then I asked him if he ever won a match. I'm like, "You ever win a match?" Like, you know, like a little smart ass. And, you know, then I don't know if this was, I'm trying to look back on it. I don't even think I knew I was really wrestling at that point. But then he said, "I will tonight, kid." So me and him had a match. So of course I cheated and won. So he hadn't still won a match, or at least in my eyes, because you know, right. I was being the young punk that was trying to bully him a little bit, and we never did get to finish that angle because WCW, man, they'd start something, it's like they never finished it. They really didn't know what they were starting when they started it, so they didn't have any rhyme or reason why they did stuff. But you know, they started off good, doing some good stuff with us, and then they just dropped the ball, and then that's when I got the Kwee Wee character, when I saw Vince Russo and Terry Taylor, and me and Mike Sanders were walking together in the airport in West Virginia. And I had my hair spiked up, which I used to wear it like that all the time. And I just wanted something different, kind of stand out a little bit. You know, I was a young guy, didn't have much hair to begin with. So I was just trying to do something different, you know. And so I remember Vince Russo called me over there, and he goes, "Let me get this straight. You actually wear your hair in public like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, right, man." And he's like, "Well," he goes, "It got my attention, so you must be doing something right." I was like, "Well, you know, that's why I'm doing it, man. I want to try to stand out a little bit and try to, try to do something different." He's like, "Hey," he said, "You know what? I might have something for you." He goes, "When we go to Nitro the next show, you come talk to me. We're going to talk about something." So I don't really knew if he had anything in mind for me at that time or not, but I think he had some wheels turning. So, you know, I talked to him the next Nitro, and he goes, "Hey, I got this gimmick where I want you to try this." He said, "Go buy you a couple VHS tapes," which, you know, that's how long ago this was, VHS tapes. He goes, go buy a couple of these Saturday Night Live tapes and look at this guy named Chris Kattan was doing this Mango character. And he had a David Spade, and I'd never even really saw the David Spade character on this, but I guess he was like his cousin. He was called Kwee Wee. So then that's why they started calling me Kwee Wee, because they wanted me to kind of be like this David Spade character. Well, then Saturday Night Live was going to sue them because they were, you know, they had copyrighted Kwee Wee. So they just changed it to Kwee Wee, which, you know, Kiwi to Kwee Wee, it's, I have no rhyme or reason where they came up with Kwee Wee after Kiwi, just because it was similar. I don't know. So that's the name I got stuck with. And like I said, Vince gave me this gimmick, said, "Hey man, if we have any gay chance or queer chance or anything like that, you're going to be off TV." And I was like, "Well, you know, like, man, that's like kind of setting me up for failure, isn't it, Vince?" He goes, "Well, you know, it's the only thing we got for you right now. So, you know, we need to give it a try." So, you know, of course I tried it, and, you know, they had me start a program out with Prince IK, which I was excited about because I love Mike to death, man. He was a great worker, and him and I complimented each other real well. And we had the first Nitro I ever done, they put me over on Prince IK, and he was there at Paisley. So that's where Paisley, they started having her fall under the spell because the Kwee Wee was so handsome and mesmerizing that the girls just fell for him. Yep. And that was kind of the gimmick they wanted to do. So she started falling under my spell, the Kwee Wee love spell. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. When they say, you know, you're going to play like this type of character, how do they explain it to you? They're like overly flamboyant. Like, how do they kind of lay it out for you?
Well, to be honest with you, they didn't really give me a whole hell of a lot of direction other than Vince watching them tapes. And then he's like, "This is what, you know," so we go to do these, and they had, you remember BB in WWE, which was Barbara Bush.
Yes.
So they give me, her name's Kathy Dingman. They give me her on my first spot. So we do a couple vignettes with me and BB. So, you know, she's a big physical, I mean, she's a good looking girl, you know what I mean? So, and she got big boobs. So that's one of the things they give me, so I wouldn't get the gay chance. So, which really did help me not getting gay chance, because, you know, you come out there and you're kissing her, you're holding her, she's holding you, or you're holding her hand, or, you know, you're kissing stuff. So, hopefully that's going to stop the gay chance, which it did. And thank God they actually did that for me to keep the character going. But she was only there like a couple shows. And then I remember Mark Madden. You remember him, the announcer?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So he's from Pittsburgh. He brings a stripper from one of the clubs that he knows in Pittsburgh to one of the shows because the reason Kathy wasn't being used anymore is because she was engaged to Bob Holly, and he was real jealous. He didn't want her out of the locker room. He wouldn't let her talk to nobody. And he always told her that he had guys at the show watching her and she better watch herself. So she was scared to death to even come out of the locker room.
Gotcha.
So it didn't really work out too well for us. And she was actually only there a couple of weeks. And then, well, the stripper didn't work out good at all because I remember she came out one show. So I picked this girl up, and I was married at the time. And my ex-wife used to hate it if I kissed any of the girls. So I'm walking down the ring, and Vince is like, dude, grab her. He goes, I want you to like French kiss this girl all the way to the ring while you're walking with her. I'm like, holy shit, my wife is going to shit, which she did. But the reason she shit because she was a nurse and she used to be in heart surgery. And so the doctor one day after I did this spot with a stripper is they're in surgery and they used to talk about everything. So the doctor's like, hey, did you see your husband on Nitro last night? And she went to bed early because they had to get up early. And she's like, no, I didn't watch the show. And the doctor's like, oh my God, he grabbed this girl and he was French kissing her all the way to the ring. So the doctor got me in trouble,
Yeah.
So my ex-wife had a damn fit. But she was only there like a week. And then I got Paisley. Yes. So, Paisley was by far the best compliment to me. She could talk. She was, she could work in the ring. And she was just a great presence and everybody liked her, so it worked out for me then.
They didn't say anything like, okay, this is a gay gimmick or this is going to be like Gold Dust or you're supposed to be like Adrian Street. They didn't say anything like as far as giving you some better direction? No,
not really. They wouldn't let me really do anything I wanted, but whatever we started, that's what they said. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't do anything different. So it was one of them where, looking back on it, you never know, man. I could have got fired saying something. I could have got better. Who knows? But, the fact is I was a young kid coming up. I got my shot. And, again, I got Paul Orndorf in my ear saying, you fuck up, you're going to be fired, So I'm trying to, walk on eggshells. And I'm trying not to rock the boat too much. You know what I mean? It just sucked at the time.
Well, what did you think about working for Vince Russo?
I like Vince. I mean, I don't have nothing bad to say about Vince. Helped me out, give him my shot. Him and Bischoff were always really nice to me. And, it is what it is. Or, he had a million things on his plate. He had to deal with Hogan and all these guys. And, I was probably the last guy he was worried about. You know what I mean?
I could see that. But he should kind of give you more direction, no, for the character?
Well, I agree. But, I mean, at the time, that's how WCW was, man. I mean,
work with the top guys, and then go from there.
Yeah, like all these top guys, they didn't want to give you the rub. Like Kevin. Now I won't say everybody, but Kevin Nash, if you remember, like him and Paige, they'd work with the Nash Born Thrillers and stuff. Yep. And I can't. I wrestled. I wrestled Kidman and I wrestled Ray, and they always give me good spots, and they put me over. Prince Ikea put me over. But, like as far as the top guys, like, Hogan, and I remember I wrestled Jeff Jarrett. I was always good friends with Jeff. And he was real weird about giving me a match. And he was kind of like, it was almost kind of like he was talking down to me while we were kind of trying to go over stuff. And, stuff like that never set well with me. And like I said, that was part of me not kind of being me because I always was afraid I was going to get fired. But if I could do it all over again, being the Allan I am now, I would have told a lot of these guys to go fuck themselves, and I probably would have been fighting with a lot of these guys, so I might not have had a job very long.
Well, with some of those guys, is it just like the political nature of wrestling, or is it just them not wanting to do business?
Well, it's probably a combination of both. But, a lot of – I'm sure this isn't the first time you're going to hear this. There's a lot of egos in the wrestling business. And I like to think that I didn't have an ego because I never really, I didn't do the stuff. Obviously I didn't do the stuff Jeff Jarrett did. I didn't do stuff Hulk Hogan did. But, I earned my wings, man. I earned my spot. It wasn't like it was just handed to me. So, give me a little bit of credit. And then, I remember I wrestled Rick Steiner one night. And he was kind of nervous because he didn't really know me. We talked off and on, or we worked out in the gym here together, but we never worked in the ring. So I think he was nervous that he really wasn't sure what I was capable of. And but after the match, dude, he loved it. He was nervous the whole time until we got in the ring. Then we got in the ring and had a hell of a match. And I was, Bischoff asked me to put him over huge that night, and I did, and he loved it. And and then me and Rick became good buddies after that. And then it just takes getting in the ring with these guys and showing them, that you got a little bit of confidence in yourself, and you can work with them. And but in WCW, it still didn't. Like in WWE, I think these guys got a lot more direction, and they're told, listen, you're going to put this kid over, and this is what's going to happen, and you're not going to argue with Vince. And most of the guys up there, like Edge and Randy Orton and these guys, they'll put these guys over. I never got along with Randy Orton and some of the guys up WWE, but I mean, they know how to work and they know how to do business. You know what I mean? You gotta build somebody to get yourself over too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did you think about your placement when you get there as Kwee Wee and you're going through like the cruiserweight division and stuff? You got Lieutenant Loco and Skipper and a bunch of these other guys. What did you think about the division and your placement?
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I got to work some good guys, man. I got to work Lance Storm on a Nitro, and was a pretty good match from what I remember. That's the night actually Goldberg got my glitter banned from the ring.
Oh, why is that?
If you go back and watch his match with Lance Storm, dude, you got to check it out. When I come out, it looks like I got a crown. I got so much glitter in my hair, and I got it all over my body. And I used to wear it, but this particular night, I don't know why. The lady in the back that did the wardrobe stuff, she laid it on thick, and it looked amazing. I thought coming out of the ring, and if I'm going to do this character, and I got Paisley, which is a damn good looking chick with me, let's do it. So I started doing little stuff like that to where I can control that. They really can't see it until it actually happens. You know what I mean? So and I told Paisley we're going to start wearing glitter and all this and that, and she was for anything I wanted to do because hell, she wanted to be up. Get to the top just like me, So I had so much glitter on that night. I remember after my match, Goldberg did a spot in the ring, and he had glitter all over him, and he was fucking pissed. Little prima donna Goldberg. He's, oh, I got glitter on me. We can't have glitter no more because I'm Bill Goldberg and I'm a man. And that's basically what it was. And he was belly aching because he got a little glitter on him, which is horseshit. I mean, it's my gimmick, man. Don't fucking piss on my parade because you don't want to have glitter on you. It's the only thing I got going for me, man. Let me have what I got,
Yeah. I always wondered why he stiffed you so bad on that awesome spear. Maybe that's why. Maybe
no. Don't get me wrong.
Glitter.
Me and Bill were buddies, man. Actually, he didn't want to do that spear. He tried to talk me out of that the whole day. And I said, no, we're doing it. Because I told him, I said, Bill, this is going to be awesome. I said, you realize how good this spear is going to look? And he goes, dude, I am going to absolutely kill you. And I said, I know, but who cares? I'm not a pussy. You're not a pussy. Let's just do it and get it over with. And after the show, dude, that was in Augusta, Georgia. So we just drove down there the day and stuff. And then he called me in his locker room after that match. And he's like, dude, he hugged me and he's like, this is the greatest fucking spear ever, dude. I appreciate so much you doing this for me. And then, he always said, I owe you a favor. Anytime you want a favor, let me know. I got you, man. Anytime you want. I still ain't redeemed my favor. So I'm going to try to use that favor to get him on my podcast.
Yeah, there you go. He owes you one for that. That spear, like they always showed in like, the 10 best spears of Goldberg. That's always in like the top 2, all the highlight videos, little TikTok videos or Twitter videos. You always see that. You jump up, you springboard, and boom. There's no way to protect yourself. He lays it in.
Yeah, he killed me. I mean, there was no protecting myself, and I knew that going into it. And I told him that all day. I said, Bill, I don't care, man. When someone says what was the greatest spear, they ask you, I want you 20 years from now, I want you to say Allan Funk. That son of a bitch took the spear. And actually Jimmy Yang told me they were over in Japan. This has been several years ago. But he called me up and said, hey, man, I was over there eating dinner with all these Japanese guys, and Bill was eating dinner, and someone asked him what the best spear was, and he said, Allan Funk by far, best spear ever.
I love it. And so, it's crazy you think that was your idea to do that.
Well, when I saw everybody come up to me that day and said, hey, man, you're working Goldberg tonight. I'm like, why the fuck would I be working Goldberg? That makes zero sense. But then after, I seen what was going on because Mike Sanders was the commissioner. He booked the match. I was wrestling him at the pay-per-view the following Sunday. Yep. And, it made sense then. So I seen Bill out in the ring, and I said, Bill, I said, I got an idea. Because, I mean, what am I going to do with Bill Goldberg? He don't sell shit. Like, my character is, you know, the total polar opposite of Bill Goldberg. So, and the problem with the guys back then is, you know, me and Bill could have had a hell of a match. We could have had a damn 10-star match like he had on the pay-per-view against DDP, but that's not in their mind then. They just want to go in there and they want to, you know, he wants to be Bill Goldberg. He wants to fucking run over you and be Bill Goldberg. They don't think about the psychology of stuff. They just know that he's Bill Goldberg and he wants to fucking job you out, basically. So I knew I was in a no-win situation. So I said, the only thing I can do with this is have a great fucking spear and people will talk about it. So that was my mentality going in there. So I said, how about this, Bill? He was in the ring. I said, you come out of your sparks, you know, your flames or whatever you're coming out of. I said, you know, you come in with intensity, fly under the bottom rope. I'm going to start booting you and kicking you and, you know, punching you, whatever. And then, you know what he said to me right at this point? He's like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not selling shit. And I'm like, oh, surprise, surprise, Bill. I said, I'm not telling you to sell. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. You do whatever fuck you want. But I said, I'm going to put the boots to you and I do the springboard sunset flip. I said, you kind of, you know, sell up towards the middle of the ring. I said, I'm going to run like I'm going to springboard sunset flip you. You come, boom, and you hit me with a spear. He's like, holy shit, bro. You really want to do that? So I said, let's get the timing down. So we did it a couple times. I'd sprung board, turned around. He come running. And, you know, he grabbed me midair and we kind of got our timing like right immediately as soon as we started it. And then he was like, nope, I ain't doing it. He goes, dude, do you realize the fucking momentum I'm going to have? I'm going to fucking run right up. I'm going to kill you. He goes, you'll be hurt. And I said, Bill, who cares? I said, big deal. I still want to do it. I said, let's have the fucking best spear ever, bro. I mean, I'm all in, bro. Let's do it. So we did it a couple more times. And then he was still like, bro, I don't really think I want to do that, man. I'm going to hurt you. I said, Bill, we trained together to power play. You know, I don't give a shit. Let's just fucking do it. So finally he agreed to it. We did a couple more times. And then he was all excited about it, man. But I don't think till after we did that spear, and I told him, I said, listen, you won't even have to pick me up for a jackhammer. Which, you know, in his mind, he's fucking doing a jackhammer no matter what, which he did. And he actually hurt me worse on the jackhammer than the spear because I was already had bruised ribs with the spear. So if you watch that video, when he turns me for the spear, he kind of over rotates me, or I mean, the jackhammer, he over rotates me and I'm hurt. I really can't go with him because I can't move great after that spear because he goes over to pick me up. And I said, what in the fuck are you picking me up for? And he didn't say nothing. He's like, jackhammer. And I'm like, I should have known this motherfucker was going to jackhammer. But there was no need for it. That's the mentality of some of these guys. Dude, if you run over a guy with a train, why are you going to pick him up for a suplex?
Right.
I mean, that's basically what the jackhammer is. It's a suplex.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the train ran over, you know, the fucking 20-pound guy. There's nothing left of him. Why would you pick him up for a suplex? That's my mentality. But, you know, that's the old, like, Paul Orndorf type school, you know, and the Buddy Lee Parker Sarge. You know, they taught you that kind of stuff. And, you know, they taught Bill that too, but not really because they only taught him a couple moves. You know what I mean?
Yep. Man, what a memorable, awesome spear. And obviously you said injured ribs. You're legit hurt from it.
Yeah, I had bruised ribs, man. I don't know if you ever had bruised ribs, but you might as well break them if you're going to bruise them.
So for like WCW, they're rolling along slowly but surely, not doing so great. Boom. All of a sudden they get sold to Vince McMahon and the WWF in 2001, March of 2001. Was that shocking or did you see that coming?
Oh, dude, nobody saw that coming. No, the only reason I had a heads up on it. So the last pay-per-view, which was the agreed pay-per-view, was in Jacksonville, Florida. Excuse me. I wasn't even booked on the show. But I had a buddy in the office that, you know, I met a lot of baseball players through the wrestling business and I like sports. So I became friends with some of these baseball players. So we're like, you know, well, shit, we'll come down and watch a couple of spring training games, which was going on at the time. So we drove down from Atlanta and watched a couple of spring training games. And then we drove back up to the pay-per-view Sunday. As we're driving up there, Kevin Nash calls and says, hey, Vince just bought WCW. And I guess I'm dumb. At the time, I was like, you know, I'm thinking Eric Bischoff's in the process of buying the company.
Yeah.
That's all I knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, why would Vince Russo like, how would he come in there and buy that company off Eric Bischoff? He's like, no, Vince McMahon. And I was like, Vince McMahon, what the fuck? Like, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's horseshit. Like, and then I kind of I'm like, well, fuck. I was like, what do you think that means for me, Kevin? You know, and I said, hell, I ain't nobody. What the hell is WWE going to do with me when WCW hadn't done shit with me, really? And he goes, well, as far as I know, they're going to pick up everybody's contract, and then they'll have to go from there and see what's going to happen. So, you know, we go to this WCW Greek pay-per-view, and from what I remember, I don't really think a lot of guys even knew that Vince McMahon had bought the company. I don't think too many people was talking about this. And from what I remember, I think Kevin told us not to really talk about it. Right. And so, you know, of course, I'm not saying nothing. And, you know, I'm thinking everybody knows about it, but no one's saying anything. Well, you know, me and Jason Jett had a match that night. Since I was there, they went ahead and booked me on the card, which, in my opinion, me and Jason Jett's match set the tone for that whole night. If you ever watched that match with me and Jason Jett.
Yeah, very good.
Easy money, Jason Jett, bro. He was a hell of a talent, man. And
I love that suplex too that he does. He kind of like picks you up and.
Oh yeah, and you know I saw somebody do that. Who did it on the AEW pay-per-view?
Oh damn!
You know what?
Right.
Moxley did it, I believe.
Yes, to Kojima. Yes.
To Kojima, and you know Kojima's another great dude. I used to wrestle him all the time in Japan, and he was one of the top up and coming wrestlers when I was wrestling All Japan Pro Wrestling. He was amazing. But yeah, he did do that to Kojima. So yeah, me and Jason Jett, if anybody ever wants to watch this great pay-per-view, please watch that first match, Kwee Wee versus Jason Jett. You will not be disappointed. And I mean, you should love the match. It's like 15 minutes long, and we tore the house down.
Yeah, great opener for sure. The thing is just so weird. It's like, wow, Bischoff offered them $65 million. Okay, Fusion Media should buy it. WBF offers $4.5 million, and they get the company. There's very weird stuff going on.
Well, now listen, I heard WWE finally got it for $2 million.
Oh my God!
But all they basically bought was the tape library. I mean, you know, they had a couple of guys that had guaranteed contracts. Guys like me, of course, didn't have a guarantee. I had a 90-day clause. You know, if they got rid of me, they just paid me 90 days, you know.
Right. But a guy like Hogan, if they offered him, hey, you want to buy that stuff for $2 million? Easily could just buy. You know
dude, he was making $1 million a month on a salary.
Yeah, like why?
But you know, it's funny you say that because I was talking to Danny Graves, which was a pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, and Sean Casey played first baseman for the Reds. So I was talking to those guys about when because I was at one of the baseball games right after that happened, and he's like, or I told him, I said, hey, why didn't you guys should have stepped in there and bought WCW? Like, really? How much did it go for? And I told him $2 million, and Danny Graves looked at Sean and they're like, fuck, we should have bought that. you know? Yeah. But because I mean, those guys, shit, they're making 6, 8 million, 10, 12, you know, 15 million a year. I'm sure they could have put money together and bought WCW. But because I don't know if you know any baseball players, but they all love wrestling. At least most of the guys I've ever met in baseball, they love wrestling, man.
Hey, they all should. Come on, it's great. Yeah.
So yeah, but you know, I used to go in these, and I'm not kidding you, John. I'd go in these locker rooms and these pro, you know, I mean, you're talking professional athletes making millions of dollars compared to what I was making in WCW, which was peanuts compared to what these guys made. And I go in these locker rooms, see these guys with no shirts on, and I'm thinking, you guys are professional athletes, and you look like damn old men that sit on a couch and drink beer all day. Like, none of these guys look like they worked out. But, man, you'd see them on the field, and you're like, where in the fuck did this shit come from with the body that you got? Because, and I just always remembered that because I was always, you know, I wasn't the tallest guy, the biggest guy in the world, but I always tried to be in good shape so I actually looked like I should be a pro wrestler. You know what I mean? And I think I pulled it off pretty well considering I was only 5'9". And, you know, but some of these pro athletes, dude, they don't look like pro athletes.
Yeah. Oh, my God, definitely not. With you, though, with like WCW, okay, they get bought. Vince, we mentioned HWA before, and obviously, you know, that doesn't really work out where you end up on WB TV. But I think everybody will famously remember you after the WCW run, after the HWA run, in TNA as Bruce and the Rainbow Express. I think that's kind of something you definitely get noticed for or remembered for.
Well, you know, the bad thing about that at the time, man, they didn't have TV. They had a pay-per-views. I believe it was on Wednesday nights.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a week. I think you had to pay $10 for it. But
Yep.
you know, if you can
month.
watch WWE, and who the hell is going to pay $10 for TNA when nobody even really knew what it was at the time? But I guess they got fairly decent views. I'm not really sure the numbers, but from what I heard, they got more, views than they initially, projected, I guess. I don't know. But and it couldn't have been, like I said, my time in the wrestling business was the absolute drizzling shits. They put me together with Lenny Lane, which is, in my opinion, one of the best underrated talents next to me and Brad Armstrong there ever was. Not really wanting to put myself in a category of Brad Armstrong, because he was definitely the most underrated wrestler and probably the best natural worker the business has ever seen, in my opinion. But I mean, you got Lenny Lane, which is an amazing talent. And I mean, I'm a hardworking talent too, man. I'm going to do whatever you want me to do. And I'm going to try to have the best match I can with anybody I'm working with. And Lenny was the same way. So when they put us together, dude, it was a great fit, and I loved it. And we went in the door there in that first TNA pay-per-view, met with, Jerry Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett, and me and Lenny Lane were the poster boys for the tag team division, which, I was really excited about, because they're telling me and Lenny, you guys are going to be my champions. We're building the whole tag team division around you two. You're my guys. You're the shit. You're the beginning and the end. You guys are it. So, me and Lenny, we're like, well, fuck, dude, maybe this is going to be finally someone's going to give us a damn shot to, see what we can do. And yeah, it never worked out. So that was just my luck in the wrestling business. They had me in the first night. We put, and I'm not bitching about this, don't get me wrong. I don't mind putting anybody over. Hell, I don't even remember hardly any matches I've ever won, to be honest with you. But which is, it's the wrestling business, man. I got paid the same either way, so it didn't matter to me, right? If I got over, I didn't give a shit if I ever won a match in my whole career, to be honest with you. But me and Lenny, we put over James Storm, Chris Harris. That was their new tag team. They wanted to try to establish these guys as well. And they figured we had to put them over, because at least me and Lenny's been on TV, you know what I mean? And people know the names anyway. So yeah, we put them over, and we had a great match with Chris and James, which two great guys. Can't say, nothing bad about either one of those guys. I always work with those guys great. Put them over. Then they had a tag team tournament. I don't know if you remember back that far, but so they had me and Lenny wrestling Apollo from Puerto Rico and I'm sorry, Marcus Bagwell. I refuse to call him the B word. Big heat between me and Bagwell. So,
sure.
So me and Lenny's actually fighting over who's gonna pin Marcus. So I finally say, Lenny's got more of a pass with him. So I said, yeah, I'll let you pin him. But I wanted to so bad because he hated me. But so anyway, we go over Apollo and Bagwell, and then wrestle a couple more things in the tournament, whatever. Well, then we get to the final match in the tournament the last night. Who do they put together? AJ Styles and Jerry Lynn, which isn't even a tag team. So me and Lenny's like, well, fuck, they're not even a tag team, and we already knew we were winning the belts because they told us from day one. Well, we get there that night. Guess what? They changed the story. AJ Styles and Jerry Lynn went over me and Lenny, and they weren't even a tag team. So it's almost right back to the old WCW, because they had a lot of guys from WCW running the shit. Yep. So, right back to the same shit. Have no rhyme or reason. Don't stick with nothing. Don't know what the hell they're doing from one show to the next.
So you did not enjoy your time there. I know you missed TNA, but you did not enjoy your.
Well, no, I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy my time there. Of course, I had a lot of friends there. And, I enjoyed being at the shows, don't get me wrong, but it just goes back to the same shit with my career. We're going to promise you everything, kid. You're it. We're going to promise you the world, but then right when you get ready to walk out the go position, we're going to change everything on you, and we're going to totally do the opposite of what we just told you. And that's just, it's frustrating. I mean, think about guys doing like movies or something. You got a movie script. You go film the movie, right? You get to the last ending scene, the movie, it's already done. And then right before you shoot the last thing, like, oh, well, we're going to rewrite. We got to rewrite this. We're changing everything. We're changing the whole fucking thing. It doesn't make sense because you already made the whole movie. So why would you change the ending? Me and Lenny started out the tag team tournaments, beating everybody, and then we were supposed to win. So why would you rewrite the finish of the script the last night when you're working a team that they're not even a team. They're not established. They're just two guys they threw together. Not taking anything away from Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles, because both great guys, great talents, but it meant fuck all. It was the shits, in my opinion.
So as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish here. I know we're talking about some of the big names in the business. You mentioned before being friends with the Macho Man Randy Savage. I know you had some great time hanging out with Macho.
Oh yeah,
right, and even post WCW, obviously.
Yeah.
Being friends with him after that, and weren't you a part of the video as well?
I was. I was doing the Funkster stuff that I started in HWA, which you can actually Google that, and I got a great promo with Bill Behrens as the Funkster, and it's awesome if you ever seen it.
Oh yeah.
But Macho Man, it wasn't no secret. Macho Man didn't like Hogan back then at that time. I mean, he did a CD, Be a Man Hulk. He wanted to fight Hogan. He was wanting to give all the money to charity, but Hogan wouldn't agree to it. And, in Macho Man reality would have beat the shit out of Hogan, whether he likes it or not. Because Macho Man, he was a hell of a shooter, man, and everybody knew he would have whooped Hogan's ass, and Hogan knew it. That's why he didn't want no part of it. But, yeah, man, I remember I was over in Japan wrestling in All Japan wrestling with Kojima and Muda, Kaz Hayashi, Kaya, and actually Jerry Toot was a wall. He actually died over there, but he actually got me over there, and had some great talent in All Japan Pro Wrestling, man. I love working over there. So I get back to my room. I check my messages every morning usually, and because, when you're in Japan, you're 12 hours ahead of the States. So I always called my mom. I always check my messages. So I check my messages. Who's on my damn voicemail? Macho Man. He's like, yeah, brother. Yeah, give me a call. Yeah, I got something for you, brother. And I'm like, this is freaking ridiculous. Macho Man calling my phone, I was fired up, man. So I didn't have his number. He didn't leave me his number, but I was good friends with Brian Adams, and Brian Adams was always hanging out with him. So I called Brian and said, hey, you with Macho Man? He's like, yeah. So he put him on the phone. We're talking. He's like, brother, I need you to come down to Tampa, brother. I got something for you. So, Brian told him about the Funkster gimmick and this and that, and he loved it because anything that would make fun of, which I wasn't making fun of Hogan, but he wanted to make fun of Hogan through my character, which was fine with me because Hogan wasn't doing me any fucking favors. So, yeah, Macho Man, dude, he had a limousine waiting for me to pick me up at the house, took me to the airport, treated me like a damn king, bro. Macho Man was top notch. He'd always have limousines, chauffeurs waiting for me, take me to 5-star hotels, paying me really good money to do these videos and stuff with him. And, man, he was just a great guy. For the short time that I did know Randy, man, he was unbelievable.
I love that you're buddies with him. He just calls you up and, hey, brother, hey.
Oh, dude, he was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think you were telling me the last time when we did an interview. Oh, man, I'm trying to remember. It was like the funniest. Damn,
when we bought the wig?
But it was something with catering. It was some
okay. I got two stories for you.
Okay, yeah.
These are unbelievable. If anybody likes Macho Man, is going to love these stories. So, Macho Man, he is the Macho Man. Like, there is no character. The Macho Man's is Mr. Poffo when he's off the Randy, set. He's the Macho Man, period. Bottom line. So, we're hanging out. Him and Brian are changing upstairs at this little venue we're at. And so we're shooting videos. They got hundreds of extras around here because they were the crowd behind the when he's shooting the videos. So it looked like they had, crowd at his concerts. And then we had a ring set up where we did a shot where the crowd's all around the ring and I get in the ring and we do a spot and stuff like that. And he kicks my ass because I'm the Funkster and he wants to look like he's beating up Hogan. Well, I shaved my head, which, I have a shaved head now. So, but I still had the mustache and I dyed my mustache and it was a perfect mustache. So he's like, well, we need to get you a wig. You got a wig? I said, no. He goes, brother, we're going to go shopping for a wig. Yeah. So we get in the limousine, me, him, Brian Adams get in the limousine, go to this wig shop. And it's, for me being a little Mark from Alliance, Ohio, a guy that I used to watch, all the time, every, 5 days a week on TV when I was a kid. I get to go, I'm hanging out with him. I get to go shopping for a wig with him, which was amazing. Him and Brian Adams. So we get in this wig shop, dude. He's walking around all gimmicked out and, he's got his pinky and he's looking at these wigs and he's like, boom, right there. Try it on right there. That one right there, and I'd put it on and the woman would give me a mirror and I'm looking at it. And he's like, he'd go, brother, take it off. Ain't the one. That's not the wig we're looking for, you know? And he's all over the place, bro. And this chick's helping us, and she's just being as nice as she could be. But, you know, in the back of her mind, she's like, what in the hell is going on here? And so we finally get to the wig, man. So I put this blonde wig on, and he's, you know, I'm looking in the mirror, and the lady's kind of puffing it up. You know, she's, untangling it, whatever, and combing it with his wig comb. And the Macho Man's like, he's like, yeah, brother, boom, right there. That's the one. Boom, we'll take it right there. Yeah. You know, so he's like, walk around with it. So I'm walking around with it. And he's like, yeah, like it from the back, you know, and he's like, yeah, boom, right there. So he goes up the cash register, and him and Brian pay for it. And so we get back to the arena. Well, all these extras ate everything in catering. I mean, there wasn't shit left, and there was tons of food in there. So Macho Man's kind of pissed off about it. So we go up to the locker room, and we're getting dressed or whatever. And so he comes down. He gets me, and Brian Adams, I think, was on the phone at this point. So he's over there. He goes, brother, come here. And he's like, come over here, brother. So and he's like sneaking. He's on like his tiptoes, and he's like, we're walking down the stairs, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, what's going on, man? He goes, brother, you got to see this. You got to come with me, brother. So he opens up this door, and the door flies open. He's like, boom. He's like, brother, right there. Yeah, look at him. And I look over there, and I see a tray with sandwiches on it. And he looks around, and he goes, yeah, kayfabe sandwiches, brother. Boom, right there, kayfabe sandwiches. And I'm popping huge because I'm like, this is amazing. Macho Man sitting here telling me kayfabe sandwiches. He's like, yeah, brother, these are our sandwiches. Don't let nobody else get them. They're all kayfabe sandwiches, brother. You know, and I'm popping, obviously, because to me, it was one of the greatest moments of my wrestling career, watching this guy do that stuff, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And being friends with him and hanging out with him and literally living the life of the Macho Man.
Oh, awesome. Dude, every time we'd go by somebody, the owner of that Big Three Records was the record label that he was on.
Right. And
they had some big names. But whenever Macho Man, whenever he went somewhere, he was the main draw. Like they had a band, like a real popular band. I want to say like Three Doors Down or a band similar to that. So you're thinking you're at a music, I don't really want to say a convention, almost like a fair type thing, but they had like all these musical acts. So they had a tent set up, and here's a Macho Man. He's a wrestler. He's really not a musician, but he, in his mind, I'll tell you what, he thought he was the biggest musician there, not just star. And it showed, because that's just how he was. So he had more people in his tent than any 15 bands that were actual bands and people actually knew. Nobody was at these guys' tent. There was 1 million people lined up for Macho Man, and nobody could give two shits about any other band that was in this place. And so I remember the owner of the Big Three Records walked up to us, and Macho Man's like, brother, cut a promo on this guy right now. And I'm like, cut a promo? He's like, do it right now. Boom, cut the promo. So I'm like, say his name was John. I'm like, well, let me tell you something, John. I'm going to run all over, I just cut a promo off the top of my head. And Macho Man's sitting back there, dude. He's got the biggest smile on his face. And after I get done, he's like, boom, right there. What I tell you, this guy's amazing. Boom, right there. Yeah. He put me over like I was $1 million. And it was just the funnest thing just to be around that guy, because you never knew what he was going to do, but yeah, he'd always make you feel like, he always made you feel like you were the superstar, and he was just somebody just hanging out with you. That's what I loved about that guy. He was just a good dude, man. And he always made you feel like you were, the star around him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that he's, the Macho Man. He's doing the hand stuff. He's doing the finger with the pinky.
Oh, dude,
and the point.
That was him 24/7 as far as that was the Macho Man I knew.
That's awesome. So as we head towards the finish here, what's next for you? Like, what do you got else? What's coming down the pike?
Well, I got a couple indie bookings lined up down here in the Atlanta area.
Nice.
September 23rd, I'm doing an autograph signing at it's for Teddy Long. It's instead of Hall of Fame, it's Holla Holla Fame. So they booked me on that. I'm doing an autograph signing with Big Ron Reese. You remember Reese from the Flop?
Oh yeah.
Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. You got Bagwell. You got Bo Steiners, Johnny Swinger, and I'm sure there's a couple other guys. I'm not really sure who they are or who else is booked. But I got that coming up, and then 2 days later, I'm wrestling in Greenville, South Carolina, with a guy Jeff Lewis, but goes by I think it's Neil Koloff now. Him and his partner have Nikita Koloff. They're the new Russians, and Nikita's their manager. So they booked me on a show up there, so I'm going to be doing that. Excuse me, Greenville, South Carolina. That's September 25th, Saturday night. So if anybody's in the Greenville, South Carolina area, check that out.
Nice, very cool. And of course, the podcast you got for the MWA with Piers, with the Angel, you got a lot of stuff coming out.
Oh yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you, did you watch the AEW pay-per-view?
Yes, I did.
So we were talking about Kojima and Moxley. Now, it's a shame I didn't watch. I'm not a real big Adam Cole fan. I hadn't really watched too much of his stuff, but
me neither.
For some reason, I'm just not a fan. I don't know the guy, I never met him, but I'm just not a fan of his stuff. But in the same with Daniel Bryan, I know Daniel Bryan's a hell of a talent stuff, but I just think his time's like up. You know what I mean? But
Cole, I never got into. I love Daniel Bryan, but
I like
we'll
Daniel.
See if he's a needle mover. I don't know.
Well, just like with the CM Punk stuff. Now, I never met Punk either. I think he's a hell of a worker, man. He's great for the business. But if he hadn't been in Chicago, what do you think his reaction would have been anywhere else other than Chicago when he came back?
I don't know. I think he would have got a good reaction. Not like that, though. I mean,
no, but they knew how to set that up.
There. Yeah.
But, even that pay-per-view being in Chicago, I mean, he got a pop coming out, but it wasn't really a match that I was expecting. Was it you?
7 years. It was tough. I was like, man, I don't know what to expect. It was pretty good, but I just 7 years away and haven't wrestled in that long.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good match, but I actually more so than not lately. I enjoy watching the women wrestle because to me they do way better stuff than the men. They seem like they work harder than the guys nowadays because they got such a And I love watching Charlotte Flair and WWE. I've never seen her had a bad match other than now the other night with Nia Jax. I guess they had a cluster.
You're not having a good match with her. Forget about it.
But dude, that Britt Baker and that girl she worked, what's her name?
Chris Statlander.
Dude, that chick was unbelievable. I like that chick was awesome. I didn't really know too much about her, but after that match, I looked her up and that chick was good, man.
And Britt Baker's very good, yeah.
Oh, she's awesome. Being from Pittsburgh, I'll give her a little bit of credit, but I ain't gonna give her too much.
Yeah. No, nobody from Pittsburgh gets any credit.
I'm a Browns fan, so
Yes. Screw the Steelers.
But what I wanted to ask you about that, the main event kind of threw me off. I don't think that should have been the main event. I was thinking Chris Jericho was going to be the main event, but two things I didn't like about that pay-per-view. When Jericho goes outside the ring and then pops up at 9 and just drops back in the ring, and then who did that afterwards?
Darby Allin.
Yeah, Darby Allin did that, and I thought that was the horrifying shits. Why would you do that 2 times in a row?
Yeah,
that's just me. I don't know, but
he didn't watch the match before him. Obviously.
He couldn't have. Someone had to get pissed off about that. And then the main event, which in Christian Cage is a great guy. I like him. Never met Kenny Omega, but he's a hell of a talent. Some people hate the guy though. But the match just didn't keep my attention like the other matches did. Did you feel that with that match?
I don't know. It wasn't as good. It was weird with them really going for those table spots a lot. I was kind of surprised by that. I don't know. I just didn't.
Well, I stopped watching it up to that point, and then I don't even know how they introduced Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole to that. I don't even know what they do.
Well, Omega won, then Cole came out, and then he was with Omega, so he's in the Elite. So they beat up Christian and a few of the other guys, the Jurassic Express. Then Daniel Bryan came down and made the save.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. No, I didn't see any of that because I think I went to bed at that point. But I wanted to see Jericho's match because I love Chris Jericho. Man, was always cool to me. Jericho does some great stuff. I mean, anything that guy touches turns to gold, man. So I'm always, I always root for Chris Jericho.
Yep. I like the pay-per-view overall. I thought it was great. I haven't seen a WWE pay-per-view like that good in a long time. Well, basically, WWE is like a one match, Roman Reigns match, and everything else is like a crapshoot. Yeah, and sometimes the women. So
you're right. Well, usually the thing I watch on them pay-per-views is the women matches. But when they had Becky Lynch come out there and just job out that I mean, dude, that was so bad. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. I have no clue what they were thinking on that.
Makes no sense.
Nah, they just
even whatever they were
chick.
thinking, they can try to explain. Doesn't make sense.
Nah, I mean, they built that chick up, you know, like $1 million, and they might as well fire her now. They might as well get rid of her. Have her go to AEW.
So funny, they said that she had the greatest match of all time. She had such a hard time beating Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
So basically, her and Sasha Banks look like a bunch of scrubs because this girl came in from 16 months off and just beat her in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you make sense out of that?
Oh. And you know what? That reminds me of old WCW shit. Like, some of the stuff Vince been doing lately, I question. Like, it's almost like WCW getting sabotaged. Who's up there sabotaging that for AEW? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it seems like to me.
So before we let you go, where can everybody find you? Social media and all your other plugs.
Yeah. Funk Allan, which is FUNK. My name a lot of people misspell my first name. It's ALLAN. So it's Funk Allan with 2 L's and 2 A's at Instagram, at Facebook. And then, of course, you can check out the MWA World, which is the MWA Podcast Network, on Twitch and YouTube. You look up some of our archive stuff. In the podcast that I get out now, it goes out on Wednesday or Thursday on the Realm Network. And Vince Russo has rights to it for 4 weeks. And then we post it on Facebook or not Facebook, YouTube and Twitch after the 4 weeks.
Nice. Very, very cool. Allan Funk, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. No, anytime, brother.